Hello everyone, my name is Donkly. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going back to another topic of real estate. We are going to talk about appraisal and how does it gonna affect the purchase contract of the real estate. So let's take a look at what we have in this video. So as a buyer, when you submit a contract, a purchase contract, you're gonna have a lot of contingency with the purchase contract to make sure that you are protected. We're talking about inspection contingency, we're talking about appraisal contingency, and there's plenty of other contingency that we can talk about that's gonna take forever because normally in 10 pages of the purchase contract, mainly to protect the buyers because the buyer take a position that um, they're gonna own the biggest purchase of their life forever, right? The 200, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 dollars home. So there's plenty of things that make sure that they are protected. Okay, so specifically today we are going to talk about appraisal contingency. So this is put in place in the purchase contract in any contract that has a loan. If the buyer take on the mortgage, they are automatically have appraisal contingency. Okay, the appraisal contingency basically saying that the lender gonna perform the appraisal. Okay, and if the appraised value is less than the purchase contract, the buyer no longer obligated to finish the contract. They're no longer obligated, right? I mean, of course, they can cancel right away. Okay, they can notice the seller. They can cancel right away. But most of the time, the buyer is willing to work out with the seller to either. In that case, you have to either reduce the purchase price is one way to match with the appraised value. Otherwise, the buyer cannot have the loan for that, right? Or the buyer have to bring in extra cash at closing to match the difference. So that is the second situation, right? One situation is the seller and the buyer agrees to reduce the purchase price. That's going to be a lot for the seller because if they come in with a higher purchase price and now they have to reduce, that is a loss, right? But it's better than losing because most of the time if it is at appraisal, it's already very far away from on the process of approving for the loan, right? So appraisal now it's gonna be in the form of reducing the purchase price, or the buyer gonna bring extra cash to cover the difference, right? Or maybe in some situation, the seller and the buyers gonna meet in the middle, right? The buyer gonna bring in a little bit, and the seller is willing to lose a little bit, different of the purchase price. Okay, so that is one of the three protection for the buyers if that is something that when you make the offer, unfortunately it is not appraised at the offer price, at the purchase price, then they can reduce, they can cancel the contract, they can negotiate with the seller. It's really up to the buyer at that time. So that is something about the appraisal. When you take on a contract as a seller, be very super carefully. Right now, because of the seller market, lots and people putting the appraisal contingency is weight, meaning that the buyer is willing to cover the gap right away if the purchase price is higher than the appraised value, right? So that is one way to protect the seller. The other way that we can protect the seller in this situation is so when the appraised value come in, willing to negotiate with the buyer as soon as possible. Okay. The other thing that I have to warning the seller is that for the loan that is either FHA or VA. Okay. Now, some of the buyer agent is very sneaky in terms of putting the appraisal waive the condition that the buyer is gonna willing to waive the appraisal for FHA and VA. Now, a lot of lacking of experience listing agents and seller don't know that even though the buyers are willing to waive those contingency, those FHA loan and VA loan are the government protected, government backup loan. So they still have the right to cancel the contract if the appraised value is less than the purchase price. So in that case, a little bit something here. So in that case, the seller is not protected anymore. So make sure that you understand if there is FHA and VA, the appraisal contingency is the waive of the appraisal contingency from the buyer technically doesn't make sense, right? Because in the purchase contract, it specifically say that the language here is specifically say that. Let me pull up the right here, unless otherwise prohibited by the law. Okay, meaning that the buyer can waive it, but if it is prohibited by the law, then the buyer can then the government gonna override that from the buyer. So the buyer is still protected if they are FHA and VA. Make sure that you understand that and have the contract right away. Okay. Thank you so much for watching the channel today, the video today, and I hope to see you next time.